Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Courtney if you're new here, and today's video is going to be another What's for Dinner video. I post these every Friday, so if you like those type of videos, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. I'll be sharing 4 of the dinners that we had this week, and they're all pretty simple and budget friendly to make. And as always, I will have all of the ingredients and how I made everything in the description box below for you guys. So let's get on into the video. So for this first dinner that we're making, we made some homemade cheeseburger pizza, and you'll see when I'm making it that I ended up forgetting the cheese at first. How in the world I forgot the main ingredient, I don't know, but it still turned out really good, and it's definitely worth a try. It was super easy. I've never made homemade dough before, but I just start by making the dough and add half a cup plus 3 tablespoons of the water, and then 3/4 a teaspoon of honey, and then half a teaspoon of yeast, and let that sit on top. And then after 5 minutes, you'll just mix it all together. I found this recipe from my brother. He actually makes this pizza and we love it, so we're trying it out ourselves. The recipe itself is actually for dinner rolls, but we're making it into pizza dough, and I'll leave it in the description box below for the original, but I'll also put what I do to change it up. As for the dry ingredients, you're going to use 2 cups of flour, and I'm using a half cup measuring cup right here, so that's why it looks like so much, and then half a teaspoon of salt, and whisk that together. Once your 5 minutes is up, you're going to pour the yeast mix on top of that, and then add 3 tablespoons of olive oil and mix it all together until it's ready to be kneaded. I started out kneading it on the parchment paper, but that wasn't working out too well because it kept moving. So then I just transferred it to the counter really quick, and then you knead it for about 15 minutes. And then after that, I formed it into a little ball and put it in the bowl with some olive oil around the bowl so it didn't stick, and then covered it with some saran wrap. Once you cover it with saran wrap, you just want to let it sit and rise until it's like double the size for about 2 hours. And this is what mine looked like after the 2 hours, and I just took it off. And for the roll recipe, you want to knead it again and let it rise, like after you form the rolls. But since we're doing pizza dough, you just knead it for about 5 more minutes, and I cut it in half and then rolled it out with my mini rolling pan. This would probably work a lot better if I used a big one, but I only had a mini one, so I did that. And then for the second one, I actually did it on the pan, and that worked out pretty well. This dough actually makes 2 pizzas for us. My brother makes them a little bit more thin, and we like it that way too, but this worked out fine with making 2 pizzas for us, but his makes 4 if you want them a little more thin. And then for this, you're just gonna need a pound of ground beef, a thing of mustard, some bread and butter pickles. That's the best kind for this pizza. I love the sweet flavor that it adds, but you can use whatever kind of pickles you want. And then some chopped up onions. First, you're just going to cook your meat, and I'm using this tip of spraying the utensil from Missy, from Love Missy here on YouTube. It worked great. And then I'm just using a spoon to drain out the extra grease and put it into a bowl with a paper towel on it. Then for the base of the pizza, you're just going to put the mustard all around the pizzas, and you want to use the same amount of base that you would for any other kind of pizza sauce, and just spread it out really well. After you've got your mustard base, you're just going to spread out all of the ground beef on the pizzas, and it didn't take a full pound of ground beef to do both of these pizzas, but you can use how much ever that you guys like on your pizzas. And then I sprinkled the onions on it, And I should have been putting the cheese on it, but you'll see that I forgot. I ended up putting that on at the end after Travis comes in and asks, where's the cheese? Is it under the meat? And it definitely was not, so I had to put it back in the oven for a couple more minutes. So this is what the pizzas look like fresh out of the oven after cooking them for 12 minutes on 450 degrees. But like I said, I ended up having to put the cheese back on them and cook them for 2 more minutes. But 12 minutes was absolutely perfect. Ours ended up being a little overdone because of having to do that. But they are so good, and you should definitely try making these pizzas. Y'all, I even went as far as to cut it and put the pickles on my own slices of pizza and everything before I realized there wasn't any cheese on it. I felt so ridiculous. Like, how do you mess up putting the main ingredient on your pizza? Finally, this is what it should have looked like a little sooner, but it turned out really well still, just a little bit overdone, but we're definitely trying it again because it is so good. For dinner this night, we were using these, I don't even know what you call it, the kielbasa or sausage, whatever you want to call it, with peppers and onions with a little twist, because we used like half a jar of the marinara sauce and some basil, salt and pepper, and some mozzarella cheese. Actually, I think that was mozzarella and provolone mixed, and then a couple of garlic cloves with it. First, we just cut up all the peppers and onions and got those cooking in a pan, while Travis cut up the kielbasa and then added that to the pan as well with the garlic too.
Go to the basement and get my jigsaw.
We added a little bit of olive oil and then like a teaspoon and a half of the minced garlic, and just let all of that cook down a little bit until it was starting to get like a little bit translucent. And then he added the kielbasa to it and some salt, pepper, and the basil. We added a little bit less than half of the jar of marinara sauce, and this turned out really good. We really enjoyed this meal, but we just put the lid on it for about 6 to 7 minutes and let that just sit in there and cook up all the sauce and everything together. And then once we took the lid off, we just stirred it up, put some cheese on it, and then put the lid back on for a couple minutes just to let that melt. This turned out so yummy and cheesy. Look at all that cheese. It was so good. You guys should definitely try this one. So tonight we're just gonna have this pork loin. It's the roasted garlic and herb, and then these garlic potatoes with Parmesan flavored sauce. I've never tried these before. I found them at Aldi and thought that they looked good, so we're gonna try those out. Then some mac and cheese, and then I'm gonna make some baked beans and then some green beans. Baked beans, I've got my can of pork and beans in here, and I'm just going to add a little bit of ketchup, mustard, honey barbecue, a little dash of brown sugar, and some chopped onions. Does anybody else love the sound of macaroni being poured into the water? These potatoes seem so simple to make. You just cook them for 6 to 7 minutes in a heated pan, and I hope they're really good because they're really simple to make. Maybe I should have used a bigger pan. I'm not sure. Plated. I went ahead and tried one of the potatoes so that I could tell you guys how they were, and they were actually really, really good. I'll definitely probably buy them again, so if you see them, you should try them because they're really good. Tonight we're going to be making some chicken Alfredo for supper. The chicken, we can't really decide yet, but we're either going to fry it or bake it. And then got my fettuccine noodles, and I'm making my own sauce. It's like the Olive Garden copycat recipe, except I add some garlic cloves too. But I made this probably about a year ago, and Travis loved it, so he wanted me to make it again, and I love it too. I just don't like the time that it takes to make things sometimes, but I'm gonna make it, and it takes a whole pint of heavy whipping cream, like a cup to a cup and a half of Parmesan cheese, half a cup of butter, 2 tablespoons of cream cheese, salt and pepper to taste, and then like a teaspoon of garlic powder. And then I'm adding my 3 garlic cloves too. That'll be minced. I've already got the garlic in it, and then I'm just going to add the heavy whipping cream, half a cup of butter, and 2 tablespoons of cream cheese. And then you just want to cook it until it's simmering, and then keep it that way until all of it's mixed together really well before we add on the rest of the stuff, and I will leave the recipe that I'm following in the description below. Now that all of that is melted together really well, I'm just going to add in my cup of Parmesan cheese. That's all I had left, but you can use like a cup and a half. That would be fine too. And then adding the teaspoon of garlic powder and then some salt and pepper. Then you just want to let it all simmer for about 15 to 20 more minutes until it is thick and like sticks to the spoon, and I'll show you guys the consistency once it's done. For the chicken, we just put it in a pan with some melted butter and then sprinkled some paprika, garlic, salt, and some pepper. Here is the consistency of the sauce that you want, to where it's like sticking to the spoon and a little bit thick. This tasted so good, so close to what Olive Gardens taste like. The recipe actually didn't call for the garlic cloves, but it really tasted good. And we added a little bit of olive oil to the pasta so it wouldn't stick so much. And this one was definitely one of our favorites of the week. We'll definitely be making this recipe again more often because even the kids love it. They love Alfredo sauce. But if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and let me know in the comments down below which one you would love to try out. I would love to know. And I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye.